What's up guys, Kev Talks here with another video. I thought it would be funny and hopefully entertaining to talk about some gay dating horror stories of mine. So I was trying to think like what are the worst or like craziest or most cringeworthy dates I've been on, and so I have a little roundup of 3 dates, so I'll give like a little summarized version of each and hopefully you find it funny. But the first one we're calling the dentist. Now, the guy I went on a date with, or was supposed to go on a date with, wasn't actually a dentist, but it'll make sense. So, I meet this guy on OkCupid, and I think I might have actually shared like a snippet of this in another video, but anyway, I meet this guy from OkCupid, and he seems really cool, really nice, whatever, and we said we were gonna get a drink. So we finally meet up on some street corner. I was waiting for him to come out of the subway station, and as soon as he comes out of the subway station, this is back in New York City, he goes, "I'm so sorry, I forgot I have a dentist appointment." By the way, this is like nighttime after work, like happy hour time, so I'm like, who goes to the dentist at 6 or 7 p.m. at night? But anyway, he said, "I have a dentist appointment, I totally forgot about it, and I already canceled last time and they waived the fee, so if I cancel again, they'll probably charge me a fee and I really don't want to pay." So, you know, this is one of those things where you're just like, not sure what to say. And he goes, "Come with me. Why don't you come with me to the dentist?" And I'm like, what? Like, what do you say in that moment? I think if somebody did this to me now, I'd just be like, no, I think I'm gonna go home. But at the time, I was, I don't know, 22 or something, and I didn't know, I had no idea how to handle it. And so he kept kind of like begging. He was like, "No, come on, it'll take 5 minutes. By the way, when has the dentist ever taken 5 minutes? So I was like, do I go? Do I not? Like, this is really awkward. And then I thought, well, you know what? I haven't eaten dinner yet. And I remember that he had. I thought, I'll go eat while he's doing that, and then we'll meet up. Like, we came this far. We've met in person now. Let me give him a break, I guess. And so I don't know why in my thought I just assumed the dentist would be in walking distance. I don't know why, but he's like, "Okay, let's hop in a cab." And so we're hopping in a cab and going far uptown. I'm in the car thinking, what the fuck am I doing? And so we get to the dentist, and I went ahead and had my dinner. And the whole time that I'm having my dinner at this sandwich shop, I'm getting bitter, like, how rude of this guy that he chose, you know, $50 of a cancellation fee or $100 over this like nice guy who he just met. Like, it's just very rude and tacky, right? So I'm getting more and more annoyed. I'm like, you know what, like, F this. After this, I'm going to the dentist because it was a block away. And if he's not out yet, F it, like, I'm done. And so I go in really hoping that he's still gonna be in there forever. And the receptionist says, "Oh, he's still gonna be in there for about half an hour." And I was so pleased. I've never been so pleased to hear that I would have had to wait for somebody for half an hour. Because to me, that was like my ticket out. I'm like, okay, I'm not waiting half an hour. So I go around the block and I have myself a waffle with Nutella on it from the famous waffle trucks for anybody who's familiar with New York City. And the whole time I'm like, this is my prize for having to deal with this. And I kid you not, 2 minutes after I get there, he texts me and he's like, "Hey, I just got out." So it turns out the receptionist was wrong. And if I just waited a few minutes, I would have seen him. But I was so glad that I did miss him and that I guess lucked out in that sense. So he's like, "Hey, are you still around? Like, you know, what's going on?" And I was like, "Oh, sorry, I headed back downtown. Like, she said it was gonna be a long wait." Meanwhile, I'm really just 2 blocks away, stuffing my face with like Nutella all over my lips. Just iconic. So that's the dentist. My second horror story, gay dating horror story. I meet this guy at a bar, and you know how there's guys who, it's like you can never find the perfect combination, right? This guy was so attractive to me. I was so attracted to him. But not the most engaging or energetic or like charismatic person. But anyway, whatever, nice guy. He said, "Let's go out for dinner one night." I was like, okay. That was my first mistake. Never do a dinner date for a first date, because if you don't like it, if it's uncomfortable, it can be so stuffy. You're just there with the person, having to get through the meal, having to get through the check, the whole shebang. So anyway, we meet up, and he wanted to try this new restaurant that I hadn't heard of, so of course I was down for it. Turns out it was like a raw menu type restaurant, like everything is raw. The meat is raw, everything. And the most appetizing thing on the menu was, from what I remember, it was raw bison. if that's the most appetizing thing, you know something's wrong, right? He felt apologetic about the fact that it was kind of an odd menu, but I was like, you know, it's whatever. But in my head, I was like, I'm gonna get sick from this. And just very dull date. Like, you could hear a pin drop. I mean, he was asking me about my favorite color. When you're at that stage in conversation, it's game over. Like, if you have run out of organic things to talk about, that you're asking somebody what their favorite color is, like, that's not a good sign. And again, very attractive guy, but I just, ugh. And this was a tiny, classic New York City restaurant where it's so small that everything's like jam-packed together. The waiter can barely fit through the 2 tables to come take your order. And I remember that the people next to us kept staring at us, and it made me so uncomfortable. And maybe I was just self-conscious. I was 21 at the time, and he was in his 30s, mid-30s. So maybe they were just looking and thinking like, that's odd, like kind of a big age difference. But I just felt very uncomfortable and like stuffy. And then we get through dinner. Luckily, I don't get sick from it, which is amazing. And he says, let's go get a drink. And this is, again, another example where now I would just know to cut it off if I'm not interested, but I didn't want to hurt his feelings, and I thought, okay, why not? Maybe the drink will loosen us up, I don't know. So we go to this bar, and it's a straight bar, like a regular bar. It actually starts feeling more comfortable on this date. Like, he gets a little more touchy-feely and a bit more intimate, and there's a jazz band playing. Like, the vibe is just cooler. We're drinking wine, and then this belligerently drunk guy comes in. We're gonna call him the Ogre. So this story I'm calling the Ogre. And he had to be like, I don't know, 6'5" or something, big and just gross, disheveled, and just clearly so intoxicated. And he comes up to us and he points down at us, looking at the guy in the band, like the guy playing the bass. I guess they were friends. And keep in mind, a jazz band is playing, it's a bar, so it's pretty loud. So I can't hear exactly what he's saying, but I'm looking at his lips and I realize he's going, faggots, there's faggots. And I'm just horrified, like, is this really happening? And I don't know if the guy that I was on a date with could sense that that's what he was saying, but he could clearly sense that the guy was there to harass us. And he came over 2 or 3 more times just to be a nuisance. At one point, the guy I was on a date with was touching my arm, and the guy comes over, this Ogre, and he dangles his glove, it was midwinter, to look like a mistletoe, and he was like, Me feeling horrified and just like shocked and overwhelmed started to turn into an anger. And I was just like, why is nobody stepping in? Like, now at this age, I think I would probably do something or say something. But at the time, I was just, I don't know, I was 21, and I wanted the guy that I was on a date with to say something or do something, but he didn't seem to really care, which now, being more mature, I realize that's the right way to handle it. But in the moment, you want somebody, you know, who you're on a date with, who's in his mid-30s, older and bigger and taller than you, to say something and be like, what the hell's your problem? Or even the guy in the band, or even maybe the bartender. Like, everybody in the close vicinity saw what was happening, and they were just kind of laughing along like, oh, he's just drunk. And it was so offensive. Needless to say, I didn't want to see the guy again after that date, because it was just from start to finish not a good date. And yeah. My final gay dating horror story is what I'm gonna call the toucher. So this is a guy I talked to on Tinder, and we meet up in person, and I have to say, generally speaking, he was actually really cool and really respectful. Like, at the end of the date, he offered to walk me home and that kind of thing, and give me his jacket because it was chilly out. So all those things are nice, right? But the thing is, it doesn't outweigh any rudeness along the way. And it was really just one thing that happened. In the middle of talking and flirting at the bar, public, you know, out in the open, straight up, after like 1 or 2 drinks, so it's not even like he's hammered by any means. And he just like went for it. He just grabbed my private parts, and I was like, what is happening? Like, this isn't, we're not at some sleazy bar at 3 in the morning, and you know, I'm giving you sort of the vibe that that's what I'm looking for. Like, this is a date where it was happy hour. Like, I don't remember what I said, but I'm sure in the moment I immediately tensed up and was like, no, I don't like that. And we all have a libido. I have a libido. But whatever happened to courtship? You know what I'm saying? And so that was just like the dead giveaway. After that, I was like, no, sir. You're considerably older than me. He was in his 30s, again, mid-30s. I apparently have a thing for mid-30s, and yet they all act like children. So there you have it. Those are my gay dating horror stories. Hopefully you found it funny in a cringeworthy kind of way. What I would really love to do is hear about your gay dating horror stories and do a video about that. Do like a little roundup and share your most horrifying stories. I'm sure we could find some good ones to do a video on. So if you're interested, DM me, send me a message on Instagram. My handle there is VillageKev. So if you guys DM me with some stories, I would love to put a video together. Catch you next time. Bye-bye.